What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work To Game, and I just finished recording what the reasons are, how you should play Blue Mage, how you should go into it with a positive outlook, and I wanted to talk about the other side of it. The other side of it in my mind is, what does Blue Mage still need? What is still lacking from Blue Mage? And kind of my initial impressions on what maybe I wish was done a little bit better, and things like that. So far from bashing on the class, I still have a couple more to record today on things I'm really excited about, and a couple things on advice for you guys. But what I'm really disappointed in is that without any crazy exploit or anything like that, there were plenty of people that hit 50 yesterday. When you start to talk about advanced leveling techniques, which go to a borderline and in some cases, in my opinion, cross into exploiting, without just revealing those. There's people that are solo leveling and treating themselves like an alt, and to do that is just, it feels like an abuse of a bug, of a known bug. And the fact that it's a known bug means that if they haven't already made a statement in the past that I'm just not aware of, once they make one, that becomes a bannable offense. All the way down to people who are leveling so slowly and then frustrated at it that I'm like, well, what are you doing? If you want to be leveling faster, there's definitely ways to level faster. If you're enjoying your pace, have a blast. But my concern really stems from, I went into Blue Mage hoping that it would be an amount of content that we could chew on for 6 months, and then they would add 10 levels to, and that would add 2 weeks. And then they would add 10 levels to, and that would add 2 weeks. And so we would have this kind of, each expansion we get 2 or 3 weeks out of it. And you guys have heard me kind of do this math where, like, in an expansion you have 104 weeks until the next expansion. So assuming this is the primary game you play, you know, the main story and the main chewing through the game may keep you occupied for an average amount of playtime in a week for however many of those, 20, 30, 50, 100, right? Whatever that number is. Let's just say it's 50 weeks. Okay, well, you've still got almost half the weeks to fill with side content. So you've got, you know, 1 to 2 weeks of stuff you could do with crafters and gatherers. You've got maybe a week of stuff that you're willing to do for PvP. You've got a week of out in the world stuff like hunts, sightseeing log, hunting log, challenge log, things like that, going and getting an Ixion, and so on. And then you've got some side things like world events, and some of those are seasonal, some of them are one-time only. And you've got all these little things, and that adds up, right? And in my opinion, for the average player who's not going to eat equally from all the buckets and is going to overeat from a few of the buckets, I would say that there's not 104 weeks delivered with every expansion, Stormblood in particular, especially if Eureka was not an endless supply of, I have all my classes at 70 and I want all of them to have a relic. I think there were multiple times throughout this expansion where there was a patch cycle that maybe you should, hopefully your secondary game is a good game. Thankfully, we've had a lot of great games out, but I don't think as a dev that I would love hearing about how you were thankful that there were other options when you got tired of what I was making. So I think this game has done a relatively decent job, but has had a lot of room for improvement when you talk about how do we get to that 104 weeks or more? How do we get to where there's an amount of content that it is there for you to feel like you can eat until you're full and eat until you're satisfied for the entire 2 years? But you also don't want to, from that angle, put so much in that people feel overwhelmed, and like if they can't tackle enough of it, it's not worth doing at all. And so it's a tough balance to hit, and I was hoping that Blue Mage was going to help fill that gap. I was hoping that Blue Mage was something that would give us something to do over this next 6 months, because historically the 0.5 to the 0.0 patch cycle is the lightest one. It's a great time to come back to the game. It's a great time to get into the game, but for existing players who have not taken any breaks throughout the expansion, there's very little for them to do, because it's a time to look back. It's a time to make sure, have you cleared everything in Stormblood that you wanted to clear? Have you done everything in Stormblood you set out to do? Because if you've been doing that as you go and you've been aggressively pursuing your goals, then it can be very light. And so I was hoping the limited job system was something that we could always see dropped on the 0.5 from here on out, and it would be something that provides that alternative content, like a fresh new Eureka that drops just for you to explore a new battle system each and every expansion, where it kind of breaks the game, you try something new, and then the 0.0 drops, and then it gets 2 weeks of kind of DLC, for lack of a better term. And so if you think about that logically, in 5.0 we'd have 2 weeks to 4 weeks of Blue Mage, and then in 6.0 we'd have 2 more weeks of Blue Mage, and then 2 to 4 weeks of whatever the next limited job is. Puppet Master, Beast Master, doesn't matter, right? And then in 7.0, we'd have 2 weeks of Blue, 2 weeks of the second limited job, 2 to 4 weeks of the third limited job. And so it very quickly gets to where, like, okay, now it gets to the point where 2 or 3 expansions from now, you don't even have to like all the limited jobs. Just having 1 or 2 of them is enough of a chance to go take a break and do something else. That's what I was hoping this would be. So in the light of that, that's what I had kind of stated going into this. I was hoping. I'm a little disappointed in how fast Blue Mage plays. I think that the story could have been a lot longer. I think that the skills could be a lot grindier. I think that you could lock the skills behind something where, like, once the skill drops, maybe they could go back and, based on how it currently is put in the game, let's not ask for a total overhaul. That's a ridiculous ask. They spent a lot of time on this, and it is good content. But maybe there's things they can do on top of this. So maybe instead of throwing a sardine, I can throw a trout if I go unlock the sardine 10 more times, 100 more times, right? So let me play through this. I got half the abilities in a day. I got 1 to 50 in a day. Give me a way to do it again and again and again. Because if I like this battle system, if this is now my favorite way to play, give me a reason to speed run dungeons. Yesterday we got some of the dungeons down to like 3 minutes, which is so much fun. And some of those dungeons we got down to 3 minutes. We got Amon Vale down to as far as we wanted to go in Amon Vale in 3 minutes, but not the whole dungeon. And then we got other dungeons down to 3 minutes. We couldn't get under 3 minutes, so maybe that's a challenge that we should issue to the community, because I'm sure some of you guys are a little bit faster than us, and I'd love to see what kind of times you could put up. So really where my complaint stems from is that there's not enough here. And then I worried that for people that felt, okay, I don't really like PvP, I don't really like crafting and gathering, I don't really like Eureka. Okay, well, that's 3 huge pieces of content. If you don't like any of those, prepare for a lot of Golden Saucer, Triple Triad, sightseeing logs, because otherwise this game is gonna feel light. Oh, you don't like leveling alts too, and you don't watch the story, you skipped all the cutscenes? Like, you're starting to get to the point where, like, I have to question if this is the right game for you, and I don't want to do that. It's a great game. So I really just hope that Blue Mage can turn into something bigger than what it is. I'm hoping that Masked Carnival can be something they elaborate on. I'm hoping that the skill level system, the glamour aspects of Blue Mage, because Blue Mage is on kind of an, I'll call it an alternate gear progression. It's not really, but kind of. It's an alternate gear progression within the existing market board. I think it's interesting to think about there being, like, blue-only items that crafters can make that get them to a higher eye level, since the goal is obviously not to have them balanced at 50. The goal is obviously to make them ridiculous at 50. The rest of my level 50 characters, what I had from Poetics and what I had in my inventory was between, like, 110 and 120, and my Blue Mage, you know, there's no reason my Blue Mage couldn't be pushing 240. Because the goal was clearly not balance. The goal as of now is clearly not balance. Depending on what level of content you're taking on, there are very different skills that are, like, brokenly powerful, and you just need to understand how to create a rotation, which is something that is complex and is something that's fun to dive into. So the vast majority of my complaints come from there being not enough. I tried to give it enough context here because I know some of you are going to click on this video and say, but I liked Blue Mage and I like Final Fantasy and you're just ripping on it, and that's not my goal here. I wanted this to be something better than what I think it's going to be, and I'm just wanting to start a discussion about some initial hesitancy to see if it's just me. Because right now I feel like I wish it could be just a little bit more than it is. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think that was a really long-winded way of saying it's not enough content for me, and I don't feel that anything I did yesterday broke it. For every time that I had somebody help me through content quickly, I spent equally as much time, if not more, helping somebody else. And if that math isn't true today by some point of view, it will be true over the next couple of weeks, because there's multiple people in the community that we've already hung out with that haven't finished leveling their blue mage, and I fully expect that if they need help getting through a dungeon, if they need me to come on a different class and support them, or come on my blue and support them, I will be hands down ready to do that. And it is the first piece of content I've played in a while where I didn't feel I had to be gaining anything. As a matter of fact, yesterday I spent like 3 million gil trying to get my Thavnarian onions, because it's a great time to get your chocobos up, and getting gear and getting consumables, and I just spent a lot of gil yesterday. So I guess my big complaint is keep going, Square. Like, I just hope, as long as the pens aren't down, I think this is probably an empty complaint. But if they think this is a complete piece of content and that it's done, and that they've got these planned content pieces that are going to release, and then we're just going to be happy with it, I don't know. Maybe I'm not. So, still really excited. I'm just looking forward and wondering if it's really going to last me all the way till 5.0. So, my name's Chris with Work To Game. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
Hey guys, it's me. Oh, well, if you don't know me, my name's Terry. I'm a beautiful Tyrannosaurus from Texas, and it just doesn't get more country than that. I tell you what, I grew up in these parts. I was resurrected by a ghost, and that ghost told me that I needed to come out and hang out on Work To Game's YouTube channel. To tell everybody, they should totally hit that thumbs up. Thumbs down make Terry hungry. It makes me hungry. You hear me? Hungry. Anyway, Terry, just keep it together. Keep it together, Terry. All right, guys. So, with that, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and hit subscribe if you haven't already, to see more of me and my beautiful nose. Okay. All right. Good talking to you. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you real soon. Terry, the Tyrannosaurus from Texas.